Domestic violence is nothing new, which is what makes the state's leading voice for victims so important.
We represent the 18 local domestic violence providers that are in communities out serving victims in the state of Connecticut, assisting with 24/7 hotline, emergency shelter, victim advocacy in court, assistance with restraining orders, counseling for adults and children, and all other sorts of interventions and supports that victims need to make some changes in their life.
At a recent fundraiser hosted at the governor's residence, friends and elected officials came out in droves to pledge their support.
They do terrific work. The scope of this issue is huge. It's domestic violence is the #1 reason women are admitted to emergency rooms for treatment. And what I especially like about them is their mission of changing the culture so that men don't feel like solving their problems through violence.
Unfortunately, we still are trying to raise awareness about the fact that domestic violence still occurs in our society, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and it doesn't matter where you live, what your economic status is. We can all unfortunately have somebody we know or have somebody in our family who's a victim of domestic violence. So it's a very important issue, and I'm really happy that I have the opportunity to raise awareness about it.
I'm a longtime victim advocate, and I'm a huge fan of this organization. The work that they do is terrifically important and makes a measurable difference in the lives of ever so many people throughout Connecticut.
There's no better example of an important relationship than the relationship that the Connecticut police chiefs and Connecticut police officers have with CCADV. We know that we can't address the issues of domestic violence alone, and they likewise realize that without us as a partnership, we're certainly less effective.
And for victims of domestic violence, their relationship with law enforcement has been evolving.
The protocol would be a police officer would show up, do the investigation, but before he leaves, he'd hand a card to the victim and say, you may want to follow up with some services. Only 4% of those people were actually following up with services.
That changed 4 years ago when law enforcement moved from reactive to proactive with the Lethality Assessment Program, or LAP.
It was a 11-question survey that police officers will ask a victim 11 questions after they've investigated a domestic violence crime. At the end of that 11 questions, if it's high danger, that police officer will actually make the phone call to our domestic violence program. Talk with an advocate, explain the situation to an advocate, and then encourage the victim to speak on the phone to an advocate. And here's the really remarkable part we're finding in Connecticut. Those 10,000 screens, 77% of those in high danger are speaking with an advocate. Take 4%, we're now dealing with 77% who are willing to speak with an advocate and do safety planning.
When it comes to domestic violence, we know these are very high-risk situations. So your ability to identify where those are very quickly and respond to them immediately lowers the chances that something really bad is going to happen, that things become sort of spiral out of control. And the good news is that police are becoming very good at identifying these situations. And as a result, we have fewer and fewer really bad outcome type situations.
And with the evolving role of CCADV comes 21st century ideas geared towards younger people, like an app.
It's called TD411, and it's a mobile app available in both Android and iPhone platforms. And it's an app on teen dating violence awareness. So it gives users information on teen dating violence, warning signs, but what's cool about it is that it connects the user to a local domestic violence program if they need it.
We're trying to evolve with the times and get out ahead of issues, but it still gets back to that kind of baseline of education where you just need to raise awareness, educate, talk about these issues, don't stigmatize them, talk about them with children, both male and female, and make it just kind of something that they're accustomed to and that they know the right way to act and what to do if they find themselves in a bad circumstance.